Okay, here we go. Okay, awesome. Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning to our studio audience that's here with us. Oh, more people coming in, letting them in. We have a studio audience with us today. And also we are live on Facebook. This is being recorded. So for our studio guests, if you would just stay muted, that would help with the quality of the conversation. You're in for such a treat. And those of you already starting to watch on live on Facebook, well, thank you for joining us. I know, Althea, there's a lot of excitement around today's Playing to Win, and they all want to hear from the Queen of Profit Share, the one and only Althea Osborn. So first of all, welcome, Althea, to the Playing to Win episode today. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. It's exciting.
I'm so happy to have you here, and you are actually in your home in Colorado, right?
Right. All by myself, very relaxed.
Yes, very relaxed. You got yourself totally on the Zoom by yourself too, so I'm very impressed with you. You're rocking and rolling.
I had to get up an hour early because we are an hour earlier than you.
Yes. So thank you for doing that. So it's much earlier there. And look at that. I mean, so she's in her Colorado home. And I think one of the things I love about Althea, she always talks about her Keller Williams houses, right? So I love the fact that you're just not sitting in some office somewhere with a white wall, that we can actually see your beautiful home.
Yeah.
And you said it's one of your favorite. Is it your favorite home, Althea?
Not really, no. Okay. I don't have a favorite. Okay. I don't favoritize.
Right. Well, it's just a different home, right? You're in Colorado. You go there for summers, right? You go there to enjoy, get away from the heat kind of thing, right? Exactly.
Yeah, okay. But I love my Austin house too, especially as we built it ourselves.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love your Austin home. I love visiting you there. We'll have to do it again very soon, my dear. So Althea, why I started Playing to Win is, 2020 was such a big year for so many people. And we have some different guests in the room that may not know the story, but there was a lot of playing not to lose. And I said, you know what? My mantra for 2020 and beyond is playing to win. And playing to win is such a different energy than playing not to lose, right? And so like Gary Keller said last week at Mega Camp, one of the favorite things I heard him say was, you can wake up every morning and you have a choice. Thank goodness, first of all, you wake up. So when you wake up every morning, you have a choice. You can either be running to opportunity or you're running away from pain. And to me, that reminds me so much of playing to win, right? And playing to win is running towards opportunity. Playing, not to lose is running from pain. And I think when I moved to Austin, 10 and a half years ago and got to meet you in person for the first time, because I'd seen you on stage and I knew about your story, being the Queen of Profit Share, top profit share earner, and your story was so inspirational. It's just been such an honor to get to know you the last decade. And I'm just so happy to have you as our guest today. So I'm happy the world gets to know a little bit more about Althea.
Thank you.
So darling, let's talk about a little bit. I want to hear a little bit about your story. Tell us a little bit about your history, how you got into real estate. Just let's talk about that, because I love your backstory.
Yeah, well, I didn't get into real estate until I was nearly 50. So, I had quite a lot of, I feel like I've had 3 or 4 lives because life changes. Yeah. And I was a schoolgirl growing up in the war, bombs, gas masks, Churchill, all those things. Then I went to boarding school, and then I went to Switzerland and decided I wanted to see the world. I thought I wanted to be a teacher, but then I decided, no, I want to see this world that's out here. I think I was 17.
Oh, wow.
And so I changed my mind and joined what I thought was the Foreign Office, but actually it was the British Secret Service. But I didn't know until I got in that it was, and I couldn't tell anybody where I worked. I had 5 wonderful years there and was stationed in Germany when I met my husband in 1958 at a lunch. And he chased me. I said, no, I don't want to marry an American. I don't want to marry a military man of any nationality. Thank you very much. But he persuaded me. And we had 50 wonderful years. And then we retired and we were broke. And I said to him, oh, I think I might go back to work. Now, understand, I've been a wife and mother. We moved 16 times in the military. I hadn't worked for 25 years.
Yeah.
And I started a couple of jobs. And then my husband said, Bob, he said, why don't you try real estate? And that's when I started, and that was 1983. And this is my next life. So
isn't that amazing? 1983. What a year you picked too.
Yes, what a year.
What a year. And by then you were in Austin. You're in Austin already at that time, right?
Austin, I interviewed all over town, all companies, and I met Gary Keller. He was not even at Keller Williams. There wasn't a Keller Williams.
Didn't even exist, right? It didn't even exist yet.
6 months before.
Yeah.
But when I met with him at a restaurant, because he was with another company, he was different. He's still different, you know.
Special.
He's more. He's very into what's coming.
Yeah.
And not about not about what he could give me, because he had nothing to give, right?
Yeah.
And it was about what I needed, which was, he said, training and support. And I tell every agent I speak to that's coming into the business now, all you need is training and support. Once you've got that and you know what you're doing, you could go anywhere, because you don't know what you're doing when you first get in. You're selling houses and looking charming.
Exactly, so, right? Well, what was it about him at that moment that made you, because he didn't even have Keller Williams, he wasn't offering you things. You say it was different. And can you like describe like how did you know he was so special? Like it's just fascinating.
All the other interviews, and there were at least 5, and understand I'm not a kid. I'm not 19, I'm 50. Actually, I was 48, I think. And so he was so different in that he didn't he didn't tell me what he was going to give me and how it was going to be. He asked about me, and he took at least 15 minutes talking about my life and what I had done and where I was and why I was thinking about real estate. And then after about 15 or 20 minutes of me banging on like I am now, he said to me, well, let me tell you what you need. All you need right now is training and support. And when you think about that, that's all you need. Then you can go anywhere you want.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so you joined Keller Williams before, or you made a commitment to Gary before Keller Williams existed. So then what happened?
No, really make a commitment.
Okay.
We had lunch and we left.
Okay.
And then my uncle died and I went back to England for 6 months. And when I came back, Gary was teaching my last class. I was doing the last CE and he was teaching it at ACC. And I thought, oh, that's the guy. And I went down in the interval to say hello and take the next step. And he said, oh, Althea, I've been looking for you. And I thought, well, I don't know how he will. It's a good name because it's not like Anne or Jane. I love Anne's and Jane's, but there are a lot of them. My daughter's.
Well, darling, there's not many Altheas that were in the British Secret Service. You're also a little bit remarkable and unforgettable.
I'd love to have lunch with you again. I'm starting my own company. I think he had 4 or 5 people, if that.
Yeah, awesome. And so then you knew that it was meant to be because you'd gotten reconnected after coming back from England, right? And there it was. And so you just joined then at that point.
I said about it and I just, connected. I think it was a connection.
I love that.
There's a lovely book called God Winks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about things that happen in your life that change your life, but you don't realize it's happening.
And that was a moment.
I sent him one of those books once.
Oh, that gives me chills. Yeah. It gives me chills. Althea, I have to keep letting people in because so many guests are coming. I selfishly, for me, wanted to interview you too, because even though I've known you a decade, I learned something new about you every time. I didn't know about that 6 month, you going back to England. So, okay. So let's talk about, and wow, I mean, think about that. Let's just go back to that because now we're #1 largest real estate company in the world, right? And you joined at a time where it was like probably Gary Gentry, a couple others and you, right?
Darren Gibbons, Gary Gentry, myself. I think those are the 3 I really remember. And then Joe Williams, of course.
And Joe Williams, right. Of course.
He was doing commercial. And then gradually people joined. And when I went to his first training class after I got my license, because I committed before I got my license, I got my license in January of the next year of 83. I can't remember, 83, 84, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Then I kept going to this office. He had a card table with a typewriter, hardly any furniture. But we did have space, and we had a receptionist. Sharon was at the front desk, and he had an office, and there were about 5 other people.
Isn't
It was
that amazing?
fascinating.
It's
But
amazing. And Sharon Gibbons, right? You're referring to Sharon Gibbons, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, whose daughter is the team leader with me at the North, Michelle.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, she's
Special.
grown up with Keller Williams. Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay. So that's amazing. You think about the history. So I want to talk about, you are known, my dear, as the queen of profit share in Keller Williams. You've been given that title. We call you that. Like, what do you think about that name?
Well, I'm not into titles and things, really. I'm into achieve, but I really respect our queen, and I think it's probably because I'm British. And
I think it is.
We have the most incredible queen, and whom I have worshipped for all these years.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate it.
You're basically royalty in our family, though. And I think that's a way to honor you. I think you were given that name because we view you as royalty in the Keller Williams family.
Well, I think I went after the profit share before almost anybody else.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because what has profit share done for you and your family?
Incredible. Well, it's given us a great basis from which to grow even bigger. Mm-hmm. And so I think, not me growing bigger, but my kids doing their thing, you know what I mean, whatever it is. And they're also different. And I realized it was happening because, again, I had to go to England. My uncle died again. I mean, another uncle. And I went back for a month to go to funerals and things like that. And when I came back, it was a check for $500. Now, it had been 20 cents and 50 cents and a couple of dollars. But this was 6 months, and it was all gathered up in these checks on my desk. And I thought, oh my goodness, I think this might work. So I went to Gary and said, okay, I want more. What can I do? And he said, well, ride with me I go to San Antonio, Houston, and Dallas once a week. I leave at 6, I get back at 11. So I took 1 day off for my 100% selling.
Right, because people don't realize you were one of the top agents in Austin.
Yeah.
You're very successful.
I was number 3 for a couple of years.
Nice.
And, but that was due to a gentleman I met who gave me all his relocation. I mean, things happen like that.
Yeah.
The connections you make. So for 4 years, I rode with Gary to those cities. And that's when I think we established a very strong relationship. And also it's where I recruited out of town. I always say to people, try to recruit out of town as well as in your town, because that way you spread it.
That's right. And people don't realize that with you, the majority of your profit share is actually outside of Austin. Absolutely. People don't realize, right? We would be at our awards and we'd be like, woo, $1 million profit share, right? And we'd hear some snarky comment in the back and somebody saying, yeah, that's all Althea. That all went to Althea. I'm like, yeah, actually not, right? Actually, Althea's profit share is coming from Dallas and now South Africa, and the list goes on and on. It's not your majority of profit share. So you went, and here's the other interesting thing is how many people, so in Keller Williams, we have this thing called profit share. For those of you that are listening and not part of Keller Williams, 48% of our profits every month go out to our agent partners who grow the company. So anybody that pays in their piece of commission until they cap and have 100% status, that goes towards, profit, and we reduce expenses. And then 48% of that goes out to agents. So if Althea did a deal and paid something in, whoever her sponsor is would get it, and it goes on and on, right? So when you think about the potential of that income, so you would think Althea would have 200 people, and we call it your level one, like the people that named you as a sponsor. You think there would be like 200 people. Althea, how many people have you as their sponsor in Keller Williams?
Not that many. Actually, they go to family now, but I think about 16.
It's not huge.
20.
Yeah.
But I've got people joining now, and they join under my daughter or my son.
Yeah, exactly.
it goes more levels.
Yeah.
Profit sharing, you have to examine it, and you have to make sure that you use it to the best for you, as well as for the best for the company. It does two things. It builds you and it builds the company.
Yeah,
And
it's a win-win. Yeah.
Win-win.
Yeah. Althea, the video I did, I don't know if you ever saw that, but I did a live stream from the office when Anne was putting in all the profit share statements, and yours was the stack. And I did a live stream. I think it was like in 2017. I said, I just want to show you what Althea Osborn's profit share looked like. And I think that month was a really great month for you. It was I don't know, 70,000, something like that. And I went through your levels, and from your first level, it was only like $100 or something super small. And all the rest had come from that growth from that. So when you think about, yes, maybe you have 16, I thought it was 14, 16 to 20 on your level one, but there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, probably maybe thousands in your whole tree. It's such an amazing thing. So anyway, I think it's done. It's changed your world. I think
it was 6,500 or 6,800 or something like that in my tree.
Oh my goodness. That's incredible. That's incredible. So in other words, and you always call your houses the Keller Williams houses, right? You and your husband built a beautiful home in Austin. Right. The home you're in right now in Colorado, which is where you're in summer to get out of that Austin heat, which I completely understand, is all, you really attribute all that to profit share, not your real estate business, right?
Right.
It's amazing. Okay. So because this is the Playing to Win series, and I ask this question to all my guests, Althea, you having such an amazing story. You started started getting licensed when you're 48, really got in when you're 50, had lots of careers before that, had raised your kids, were totally broke, and you're relaunching yourself. And then you've gone on to build this. You're such a role model for so many of us on so many lessons there. But what does Playing to Win look like for you? I would love to hear your thought on what Playing to Win looks like to you.
I think, thanks to my mother and my grandmother, who gave me wonderful background, if you see what I mean. They always said, you're building yourself, you're building your life, and then you're affecting those who are around you. And so I grew up learning that really integrity and relationships are the two things that I feel are most important in life. And if you go into that, but then you're building your life and you just do the best for what you like. I thought I was going to be a teacher. And then I thought, no, I don't want to lock myself up with 5-year-olds for the rest of my life. I want to see the world. So that changed. And my mother was so supportive. She had me all plugged into a college. She had me all going. I was 17. And they sent me to Switzerland to learn French. And I changed my whole life.
Yeah.
And wrote back. We didn't have phones, we didn't have TV, we didn't have anything like that. There was no tech. It's so techy today. I don't know how you all do it. I had a time this morning. I had to get a half an hour to get on.
Well, I'm so impressed. Thank you for making that happen. I didn't even know you didn't have any help today. So that just shows how smart you are. So Playing to Win, I mean, think about that. You had a choice when you were 17, like, and you're going to learn French and you're thinking, I'm going on this path to be a teacher. And then you realize, you know what, I think that world is not the world I want. Like that would feel like a ceiling. And like I said, in Gary's, I heard him say last week, and if you were in on that CEO mastermind, right? Every day you have a choice. Every day you have a choice when you wake up. Are you going to move towards an opportunity, or are you going to be running away from pain? And I feel like you're somebody that's such a story that you are always gravitating towards opportunity. You still recruit. You still send us people.
Yes, I do. David, but you see, Gary taught us to break ceilings. So every time I got to a point where it got a bit flat, I had to do the next thing. And that's breaking ceilings, I think, is very, Gary is such a great trainer. And I watch it. And I built my life. And I was trained by him for the first 4 or 5 years. I have to go every week with my goals. And then at the end of the week, you set goals. And I was a bit like that anyway.
Okay.
And that just underlined it.
Yes, it really solidified that discipline that you already, you were already like, attracted and open for that. I love that. Imagine, hey, on our audience, imagine having Gary Keller be your personal coach for the first 4 to 5 years of your business, right? And what an impact he's made in all of our lives on this call, and probably all the people on our live stream. Okay, so in all of your successes so far, because you have many, my dear, what are you most proud of?
Well, you sent me that, and I have quite a few things I'm proud of, but I think I'm most proud of my children and how they've grown up and developed and made their own lives and become successful in their own ways. David in real estate and investing, Anne in riding, and Richard started in rugby, but now he's kind of, quote, he was in tech. Okay. So they each was so different. Yeah. I think my husband and I were different. Mm-hmm. And so I think they got a lot of a mix. What is
right? Yes. I think that's normal with 2 boys. My boys couldn't be any more different either. It's like, it's totally different. Yeah. But, and people that don't know David, your son is, he's written now multiple books. He has the Go Abundance that he started that's helping build millionaires. I mean, that guy, talk about impact to impact. You've impacted him, and Gary impacted you, and right. It's like this whole chain, and he's impacting so many people too. And then your other son, I know that you're very proud. Okay. So what else? Because that would be my first answer too. What else?
To Keller Williams, I think I'm most proud of the growth that I've helped to build with Keller Williams, because I feel like I got into it very, very fairly quickly. And then I love doing it. And I think most people have, and I say this a lot when I speak, profit sharing is back here. You got your sales, you're going for your sales, and that's the most important thing. And oh yes, they might not be good at it, they might be. But I put profit sharing right at the front of my brain, along with my sales, at that time that I joined Gary, going up and down. And I just got out of the car and recruited all day while he taught and got his offices going. And then one day, driving back, he offered me that I could buy North Texas, New Mexico, and it was Colorado then, but now I had to give that up. But North Texas, it was too much. But I was the only one, other than Mo, who came in, and she and I were such friends, and we kind of did it together. It was one of the very first regions, and I'm very proud of the region. I mean, that's David's wonderful. Running it now, but it makes all our family, it keeps us all secure.
Well, what a legacy. What a legacy, right?
But I tell that when I recruit, I say, what you build in the profit share is a legacy, because you leave it to your children when you die.
Yeah, right. So, right. I have a lot of people asking in the chat, where is this being recorded and where they can find this? Yes, guys, I am recording, and then I put it on my YouTube Playing to Win channel. And I will, obviously you all found it probably through my Facebook or some leader on this call, and I will be posting it so that everybody has access to this. Okay, so Althea, now I'm lucky I've gotten to know you very well for the last decade, and I see you host so many guests to your home. You're always having guests at your home, whether they're coming from South Africa or they're a recruit, somebody here. I know you just met with somebody that Tamara and I are hoping to get at Keller Williams. What do you love about hosting people in your home? Because I think that's just so cool that you do that.
Well, my husband died 12 years ago. I can't believe it. 12 years seem to have gone just like that.
Yeah.
And I think, and I gave up cooking, and I gave up doing everything but wine and cheese. And I do that at my house and mainly for recruits and friends. And yes. I do bridge, and I have church groups.
Nice.
But I love I've got a big one coming up next month with an agent, with her people. I love doing it. And yes. I had the lake office over with all the ALC. I had ALCs over. I have nice. and I have recruits, and I recruit all the time. I've got somebody coming here tomorrow to talk to me
in Colorado.
I don't sell it. I don't. press it. I just try to explain to them what an opportunity it is if it fits them. And it's got to fit your whole, because you give up. It's not hard to start in real estate because you haven't got any salary and any money. But you can make tons more if you learn how to do it and do it well.
And I love that. Now we talked a little bit about legacy, how what you're most proud of is kind of the region you helped build, and then now what your son's doing with it. But what legacy, is there a legacy you, Althea Osborn, would like to leave behind?
I think I like to preach, as I said, integrity and relationships. It's really relationships. I can't remember the names. That's my problem. I'm getting to that age where your brain goes away a bit. Now,
honey, that's already happening to me. I think you're sharp as a tack.
I'm very thankful mine hasn't gone away completely like some of my friends have.
Yes,
you know?
yeah.
But I think that relationships, I have relationships from 30 years, from 50 years, 70 years. My best friend in England, whom I talk to every month, I've known for 81 years. Wow. I met her in kindergarten.
Wow, that's amazing.
And her family, her children, two of her children are my godchildren, and we just all the time. And I think that's the most important thing to me in life is family and relationships.
I love that. I love that. In fact, I think that's the friend you were visiting on our way to South Africa for Mega Camp that year when we picked you up and we were on the same plane from London. You were visiting somebody, and I bet it was her.
Yes, it was.
Fun.
I go every year, see my brother and sister and my best friends. And after my husband died, that's when I met South Africa, because after my husband died, I decided to comfort myself by visiting friends all over the world. So I went to Europe, I went to I went to Denmark, and I have friends in Denmark that we met at Staff College in the early 60s. And then one of our very best friends was in South Africa. And I wrote to Margot and I said, I'd love to come for a week and comfort myself. And she said, oh, for goodness, Althea, come for a month. So I was in South Africa for a month, and that enabled me to find Johan.
Well, and let's talk about that and your connection with Johan, because that was my next question is, tell us how you helped launch KW South Africa. And I remember we'd asked you to teach a class on profit share in Austin, and you were standing in front of the room and you're like, with this whole KW worldwide thing, I'm actually on my way to South Africa to see a dear friend. I think I'll do a bit of recruiting. And let's talk about that. Tell us how because you intentionally, you ran towards an opportunity there, my dear, and look what's happened.
It's in there all the time, recruiting. Because it's as important to me as visiting the friend is the opportunity to meet people in the real estate. Yeah. And I met a lady that was my age who was with her own company, and she was a friend of this friend, and she gave me the name of Johan. But it was crazy. But when you're there for a month, I saw Remax, I saw Century 21, they're all over there. So why can't we be? Right. And now we are. We've got 20 offices, I think.
Isn't that amazing? And didn't you, and I love a little bit of the story is you and Johan, didn't you meet at a coffee shop at a gas station?
Yes, we did. And and I always tell this story, and it's not against him, it's just how life goes. And I always say, don't worry about your no's. You get 100 no's, you get at least one yes. So if you get a no, be happy that you're nearer the next yes. See, get positive about it.
That's right.
And when I called Johan, he said to me, I just said we had a new concept, because it was a new concept then, it's not anymore. And I said, we have a new concept and I'd love to talk to you about it in real estate. Our company is called Keller Williams. And he said, we're very sophisticated in South Africa. We don't need the American systems.
I love
tease
that.
him about that now because it shows that that's the feeling that people have. And I said, okay, well, I understand that. But then I said, please go on to the kw.com and look at the Stanford paper on profit share and look at the culture. And I hung up and I went on enjoying my life. That's another no, you know. I had a couple of others that I thought
lined up.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I didn't have anybody signed up, but I was going to meet with a couple of others that people knew. And but it's not. It's at the front of my brain, but it doesn't dominate me. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's not. But he called back.
He called back 2 days later and said, "Oh, Althea, I think I'd like to meet with you. My wife and I would like to come and meet with you." So they did, and we met at a coffee shop because my host was very important. Every time we went, he was the chief of the army and minister of defense, and Magnus Milan. They're both dead now. Margot died last year.
No, I'm sorry.
We were in touch for 50 years.
Yeah,
you know, we were that close. We met at college, and so.
And Johan is now like family to you because every time the South Africans come in, Johan, his daughter who runs the region with him, I mean, they're incredible people, but it was the right person and it was the right opportunity for him because you helped him change his life. And now he's helping 20 offices in South Africa. And
I haven't really talked to him lately. He sent me, we text back. He used to come, he's been to stay here in Colorado. They came playing golf and after the mega camp, and you know, I hope they'll come again. I just texted him the other day and said, it's about time you came over here. And Natasha's married now.
Yes.
She's incredible.
She is.
She's running a very good ship over there. I don't know. I haven't talked to them lately. I need to talk.
Yeah, they're incredible people. Incredible people.
The one difficult thing about being this age and having had this life and having accented relationships is you have so many relationships, you can't remember who the heck they are. Hardly your children remember.
I know. Yes, I understand.
Come through the children. And I always say to people, I'll never remember your names, but I usually remember your face.
Yes.
I remember you, Melanie.
You remember me?
I do.
Oh, good. You know, it's funny because I actually, Althea, if it makes you feel any better, I'm 51 years old and I say the same thing. I may not remember your name, but I'm like an elephant and I will remember a face and the way that people make you feel and the connection, right? And I just might need in fact, my husband knows a cue when I introduce him to somebody and I don't say the name, I'll say, this is my husband, Klaus. Now I just outed my secret, right? So he goes, oh, and you are?
Yes, I remember doing things like that, right?
So you are not alone.
Before I had that to go through before I said, look, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
Honey, if you are 86 years old and that is your biggest challenge, you are in good shape. Okay, so what would we say to somebody at KW who would like to start focusing on, like, there's probably people listening in right now, they either maybe have one person in their profit share tree, maybe they don't have any, but what would you tell somebody that wants to focus more on building wealth through profit share?
Well, I just say, talk about it all the time. I was on an airplane. The guy next to me was starting to chat to me. He had his wife and kid there. And so I told him I was in real estate. And I said, well, what do you do? He said, I sell medical equipment. And so I said to him, well, have you ever thought of selling real estate? And he said, well, I have actually a couple of times. And I said, well, it's not easy, but where do you live? And he said, Virginia somewhere, I can't remember. I don't even know if he joined, but I talk about it all the time to people. It's not, and then I sit down with them and tell them how you've got to have a certain amount of money when you start. It's not going to be a salary. There's no health coverage. I give them all the negatives because if you know the negatives, you can get through them to the positives. Yeah. But if they're good at it, like I was, fortunately, I was good at the sales and then started recruiting, and that came too because I believe in it. I think your belief system is what I think the fact that
Yeah.
I believe in it. I've got somebody coming, a young man coming next week who's doing it up here, but it's difficult up here in Colorado. It's more like New England, you know, there's no hundreds of offices and
Right. It's much more scattered and
yes,
remote. Right.
it's
Right.
more second home area.
Yes.
And so it's harder to sell $1 million houses than it is.
Sure.
And so I'd love to convert a company up here. I've tried a couple of times. They started, it failed, you know.
Right. Well, with all our deliverables now, right? With,
yes.
Keller Mortgage and all that, you're seeing more and more of these brokers coming over. So there's never, right. You know, it's funny. So what I'm hearing you say is you just make it part of your top of mind. Like you just think, and you're asking questions, and then all of a sudden opportunity arises and presents itself. Right.
Top of mind as much as your sales, or if not quite equal. It's like you go to a grocery store and you standing in a line with somebody, you say to me, have you ever thought of buying a house, or do you know anybody who likes I'm in real estate? I'd love to help you. I mean, I've done that too. I'm not so good at that as I am at selling Keller Williams somehow.
I love that. You know, Althea, there's a $1.5 million, 1.5 million realtors in NAR end of July. 1.5 million. It's never been that big, and there's never been more people getting into the business. I think it's because of COVID, what happened, right? So I think this whole opportunity of don't underestimate the power of a brand new agent helping recruit them, because they turn into your superstars of tomorrow, right?
Right. And also that if they understand and you help them understand how difficult it's going to be, it's a positive. Right. So when it gets difficult, they say, oh yes, she told me that. Now I need to take care of it.
Right. You know? I was prepared for that. I expected that, right? Okay. Yes. How about, do you have a favorite story of you and Gary Keller at all? Or a fond memory or funny story or something?
Well, too many actually. Because for 4 years driving, if you could imagine driving in the car with Gary Keller for 4 hours up, or 2 or 3 hours up, like say 4 to 6 hours a week for 4 years, you get into stuff. And the trouble is, or the good thing is, you can't get out of the car and run away because you're halfway up to Dallas.
Exactly.
So we covered a lot. And I think one of my favorite moments, and it's more about me than about him, is when he got me on stage on my 80th and said, this is my second mother. And I think that means a lot. He is like a son, almost, to me. And I'm almost like a mother to him.
I remember
that relationship that grew us both. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you're very special to each other, and I know he feels exactly the same way. And you've mentioned that to me, like a second mom to him. I love that. What brings you the greatest joy these days, Althea?
I think my grandkids. I mean, basically, my 4-year-old and I went golfing, and he always looks at me and says, Granny, can I help you? I mean, he's so strong. He's very bright, and I think quite spoiled because he has everything he wants, whereas my kids couldn't. We didn't have the money.
Right.
But he's got such a personality, and he'll come and sit scrunched up beside me in the chair and watch golf or watch tennis, which I'm watching at the moment because it's the US Open and I'm addicted.
Nice.
And so then he'll bring me a cookie or something. And then the 13-year-old has 2 friends, and they were here this month too. I hardly ever saw her because she got her friends, but occasionally she'd come and give me a hug. So then I've got older ones. My oldest granddaughter my second oldest just got married in Denver. We went to the wedding, and the oldest one, the whole family was there, and it was, I think it's grandchildren. Because that's what you leave behind.
Yeah, that is your legacy, right? You know, I remember one of our Christmas parties, you brought one of your granddaughters with you to be your date.
Camilla, yes.
That was so cute. That was so cute.
Oh, she's 20 something now. It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Got a boyfriend. She's doing school, and
Yeah, I'm feeling very, yeah, that's blink of an eye, right? Okay, so
Yes.
let's just real quick before we open up for questions. I do want to go back to the fact that you were number 3, right? You were a top agent in Austin. And one of the things I remember you talking about is you always talked about like your core, you had your top 25 or your top, you had your top people, clients, and you treated them very well, right? You treated them exceptionally well. And it was like an honor to get in that group. Can you explain what you did, how that was so effective, and if you believe that's replicable today?
Oh, I'm sure it's replicable to a certain extent. And I think actually it was Gary that taught you should have 5 wealth determiners, and they change all the time as you grow and as you change your levels and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And also that there are 6 levels and you break a ceiling to get to the next level.
Mhm.
And there are certain things that you have to do, like this car help. And I had Maureen Gerke, do you remember?
Of
For
course.
22 years.
Bless her heart.
And
She was the most amazing partner.
Oh, she was my right hand and left hand. And I had to go through several to get to her. But because if they're good, they usually go and start on their own,
Yeah.
because that's how life goes.
Yeah.
But she went to start her own and decided she wanted to come back to me. So together for 20 years, she did everything I didn't want to do. And so that enabled me to do a lot more than I might have if I hadn't had, we didn't have teams so much when I grew up. We had,
Right.
and there were not that many male, actually, there were mostly older females. Like
Isn't
my
that funny? Yeah. Very,
And-
very female dominating.
Now it's lots of young men. And
Yes.
yes, and they did, because it started to be more of a business. And I think Gary taught that.
Yeah.
It's more of a business than a personal thing,
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you build a business around your real estate.
Right.
And so what was the question?
Well, and the other part of that is, didn't you work with like, was it HR people or like executives, and you didn't you have like a top group of clients?
I met Claudia, and he's actually did a video for Keller Williams. I'm sure it's in the archive somewhere. And I met him at an open house, and I'd only been in the business 3 months. And he came immediately to talk to me because he was very techy. He didn't care if he ever had a house. He just wanted to grow his company. And he was starting Crystal, which became Cirrus.
Oh,
and
wow.
he was the CEO, and he didn't have the money to start an HR person. So he said, Althea, I want you to take care of all my relocation. I'm selling Crystal Semiconductor. You have to sell Austin, Texas. I think my British accent, I think he thought everybody thinks I know what I'm doing, even if I don't.
Huge advantage, huge advantage.
And they didn't even remember my name. They'd call the office and say, I'd like to talk to the lady with the British accent, So I kept it. I tried to. I go home to England and people say, can't understand you. You're speaking American.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, with that, what started was I don't really believe in giving gifts. I think I'm a professional. Lawyers and doctors, well, they do occasionally, but they don't really give gifts. Yeah. I was a real estate professional, but I said, I do something. They ask me sometimes, what do you give as your gift? I said, look, I don't, sorry. I give my expertise. It's my gift to you. But also I have parties. And I used to have parties for all my clients.
It was your parties. Mm-hmm.
And then I'd have about 100. Mm-hmm. But I'd make sure that the 5 most important people that I'd sold could come. And they were usually from different companies, a CEO or a COO or executive director. And once those 5 people, my wealth determiners in that field, said they could come on a certain day, then I'd invite 30 other couples. So we had about 100.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I'd have wine and cheese, which I still do.
Still your favorite meal.
I don't cook anything except dip and shrimp and pate and cheese. I'd have a bar down on my lower deck, and I'd have a bar. Haven't you been to one?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes. They got smaller now.
Yeah.
I don't have hundreds of customers, but I just have lead people, you know.
Yeah.
Now I just have recruits. I don't, my sales, I pass through.
Right.
So,
You refer about, but the point, what I want the listeners to hear, Althea, is you're very intentional and strategic. You made sure the 5 wealth determiners were available, and then you planned the event around it, right? And you really took care of your top people. And I think I would answer that it's absolutely relevant today. And you got, you know, if you're not being intentional, what did Gary keep saying is, you need to be reaching your database now. People need to hear from you, and you don't, this don't want to sound wrong, but you know, you need to know who your best people are, and you need to treat them like they are, right? And you need to see.
Have parties anymore, but it'll come back.
It will.
But
it will.
the interesting thing is that the 5 most came to all the parties. All the others didn't all come to the parties, although a lot of them did, because they
right.
were. And so they call me up now and say, when's your next party? And I say, well, I'm terrible. I used to have 3 a year, 2 in April, May, and 1 in September. And they say, well, I said, look, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it anymore. You can come and have a drink with me anytime, but I'm not doing that.
Private party.
Yes. And then people used to come to see who they would meet.
Yeah.
So,
who
and
else
that
would be there? Mm-hmm.
earns your business much more than a gift.
Yes. That is the gift, Althea. That is the gift.
Well, it's a gift that goes 2 ways.
That's right.
If you give them a gift, it's one way.
Yeah.
If you give them the gift of a party, it comes back.
Yeah.
It's like I don't give gifts at Christmas either. I used to support the charity place down, I can't remember the name, down south of Austin, that gives out poinsettias.
Like the angel tree or something like that, or
something like that. And I'd say, I have a poinsettia for you down, go pick it up.
Gotcha.
I didn't have to pick it up. I didn't have to deliver it. They just were, they went and delivered it. I said, it's a charity. If you want to go down and pick up your poinsettia, it's waiting for you.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I put my credit card down there, and I'd have about probably 50 couples that would go pick up their poinsettia.
Nice.
And then they would give money to that place as well.
Yeah.
That expands your giving.
Yeah, that's intentional giving though, right? Because it's like, you're not just, you can give, you know, here's a gift, right? Here's a gift that you may or may not like, that may or may sit on the shelf and you may or may never use. It could be wasted money. Instead of intentional giving, whether it's a party where you're bringing people together and it's a mutual giving for everybody, right? Or poinsettia gift for you, go pick it up for a nonprofit that's raising money for whatever that cause that speaks to you is. Think about that. Like there's and I think the stories we heard last week in Mega Camp were so extraordinary about all that intentional giving. And guys, it pays you back when you give from your heart and you get out of yourself and you get into service and just like, you know, and make it significant. I love that. Hey, what did I not ask you before I open it up for questions? What did I not ask you that you wanted to, a piece of advice you wanted to give, or anything that we did not cover that you would like to share with the group before we open it up for Q&A?
Well, I don't think, I think you've covered everything, Melanie. You and I know each other pretty well, but I always just say, keep your profit sharing as well as your sales here at the front. And remember that you're changing lives. I mean, I can't tell you how many people come from me I had a call from Malaysia to send them a thing. They had their celebration, their 2nd year. Because by understanding more how to approach and how to get into it and why you're doing it, and don't just pull everybody in. There are people that do that. I think there are some people that never sell anything. They just, okay, that's fine if that's fine for them. But you're not giving at the same time. I think it's important to give and receive at the same time.
Right. Well, then everybody kind of lists together, right?
Yeah.
I love that. Well, before I go on the chat, let's ask our studio audience, does anyone have a question? You can either unmute yourself or you can put the question in the chat and I'll be watching for both. Who would like to ask this fabulous legacy, any question you'd like?
I'll ask a question, Althea. It's so great to see you. I love that you're here. Thank you, Melanie, for inviting us. I would love to know how you keep in touch with people once you've spoken to them. Do you have a system to follow up, or do they all just love you so much on the spot that they just join?
For the recruits, all those people. Yeah, great question.
I think in today, I would touch them quite a lot. But in my day, we didn't have the tech abilities and all of that. So the way I touched them was the parties, because that was at least 50 couples. And then I had a list, and my husband helped me do that. And I've still got that list. And I went through it the other day and thought, oh, I must talk to them again. I have customers that bought with me 30 years ago that are still connecting, the Thompsons and the Claudies, and he just sold his house with Shannon. And
wow. Oh, great.
Yes, that's so many. So I tried to touch them, but in my day it was different. Today, I think it might be a little easier to send an email, but the positive thing about my connections was it was more personal, because it had to be a phone call or a party, or that's why I did those big parties, because I could touch 100 couples, because some of them I invited didn't come. You know what I mean? So it's
so strategic. Yeah,
it's easier to connect today, but I think it's harder today to make it personal.
To go deeper, right? To go deeper, like it, right? You can automate, you can smart plan it, you can have all that stuff, which is great. But that's why Gary always says, without that quarterly call though, how strong would that be? And what you did is you reversed that. You made it all about the touch and the relationship. And so, and nowadays, anybody that wants to get doing this, you can be putting in systems and stuff. So Althea, you've done all yours through relationship and just your follow-up, just like, okay.
Hardly systems. When my son joined me, he said, Mom, you haven't got any systems, you haven't got anything. I said, no, put it there, do it.
Yeah. And most people don't. So then the challenge would be, and what Gary would say is if he was with us, and I know I'm hearing it in my ears, is build a system around it. Just like your real estate business, like Althea said, put it here. Here means top of mind, right? In your most important part of your brain. That's what I'm paying attention to right now, right? Put it there, put your sales there, just like you do with how can I grow? Who's talent? Heck, think about as you're growing your real estate businesses too. Aren't you always looking for talent to grow with you? Right? So you're always looking for talent. All right. What other questions do we have for this amazing lady? Yes, go for it, Dan.
Hi, Althea. Thank you so much. I have a question for somebody who has 0 people in their profit share right now. What would you say? What's your first advice?
Well, I would say, first of all, put it in the front of your brain and at top of mind, and also be happy with what you are hopefully receiving. And whereabouts in the world are you? Austin?
I'm in Austin. Yes. Yes.
Well, then just talk about it, but you have to talk about it in a less of, you're not recruiting them. Say, hey, how are you doing in real estate? I used to do it at open houses when I first started. And I started I went to an open house and meet all the agents there. And then I'd say, tell me about your company. How's it going? Like, I might want to move too. And if you let them think that, I might have moved, I guess. But I had several people. I could name one, but maybe I won't because it's on Facebook. And she tried with me for 2 or 3 years with a company with 3 or 4 agents. And then what? But we're friends. I like to connect with other agents. I have connection with agents throughout. They remember me and I remember them, whatever. Sometimes don't remember what company they're with, even if they're with Keller Williams. Yeah. But they're agents in my field. And I love to talk about real estate. That's how I started in South Africa, really. Love to talk to you about a new concept. It's how I did it in Dallas. I didn't ask them to join us. I told them we had a new concept. And you don't say new today because it's not new. You'd say, we have a great concept. I'd love to talk to you about it. I'd love to hear about what you're doing. And then you meet, and then you don't push it. You just tell it and you say, well, this is what it's done for me. and you've got your own company. How about if you bought the whole company?
Yeah.
And that's what Roya did.
And Jan, boy, what's going on? Yeah, Jan is in one of our Austin offices, and she's awesome. Jan comes from, actually lived where I grew up too, and we're dealing with those fires, huh? So our hearts go out to all of our friends in Tahoe, and it's just so sad. Jan, one thing, what I hope you're hearing from Althea is it's about relationships, right? And when you get to know people and you love where you are, which I know you are because you're always showing up at stuff, that's where I would just say, invite them to some, let them see who we are, right? And yeah, Althea said she got to go to South Africa and say this new concept. Well, guess what? Keller Williams, guys, believe it or not, has completely reinvented itself. So the culture that was always there is there, but oh my gosh, with all of the ancillaries we have now with Keller Mortgage and iBuyer and this and that, these broker owners will be struggling in the future. They won't be able to compete. And Keller Williams actually is the solution to so many people. So there, and you don't even have to go there. Don't try to recruit like Althea's a master. She's a recruiter because she's an attractor. She asks great questions and she can get away with a lot with that accent. Right, Althea? I love it.
That's true.
No, but curiosity.
Start off as Gary taught me, all about them. What do you do? How do you find it? How you do it? And if you talk all about what they're doing, then suddenly they turn around and say, well, tell me about what you're doing. I mean, and then you can expand a little bit. Too many people go at sales just for the sale.
Yeah.
I don't go for just the sale. I go for the relationship as well, and for understanding them as well as they have to understand me.
Well, I have to say, I've been listening to Gary Keller on his podcast, and he talks a lot about models. And I am coming away from this today with Althea as my new primary model, this whole relationship. I've been texting a friend who's also on the call, Lisa, and saying, it's all about the relationships. Thank you.
Yeah, so good. I know I've somebody that wants to get into the group here just to ask you a question, who does a lot of recruiting around the country. So I want to make sure we don't miss his question too. What else do you have? And are you okay with time, Althea? We'll just run a couple minutes extra if that works for you.
I'm okay.
Okay, good, because I'm good too. And yes, go for it, Erica. Yes,
Hi.
You're by yourself. Erica, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, and thank you so much, Althea. You're somebody I have wanted to meet for years, honestly. So this is an amazing opportunity to finally get to hear from you and your story.
I love
thank you so much. I actually currently have 103 agents in my first level of my downline. So I've got it front of mind for sure. One of my goals is to help open market centers, potentially even internationally. Since I do recruit from all over the world, I'm able to kind of find where there are gaps and where I believe we could definitely have one. So just a little bit on the logistics of it. Johan, when he came on, did he come on as the team leader of the office or the broker in charge? And then also, did Keller Williams fund that as the investor, or did somebody else come in as the investor?
It's a great question.
Okay. He came in, we didn't have any investors or fundraisers or anything in those days. He was one of the very first countries. And so he came on, he bought the area himself.
Basically the region of South Africa. He bought it. He became that owner.
He bought South Africa like I bought North Texas, New Mexico.
I see.
It was like a region, right? Mm-hmm.
But it was very much the early days. I mean, I don't know how many countries were in
50, over 50. Oh, at that time, yeah, not very many.
I don't know how many. I think he was the first, second, third, or fourth. I think we were in Great Britain because I did recruit there a bit and go to that office. But I think that's changed hands now. Mm-hmm. London and so
that key person, Erica, in a country is actually think about a regional director or a regional owner. Okay. They own that country usually, right? Or part of the country. However, Keller Williams decides that, and they have to go through a whole procedure, interview process, KPA. I mean, this is what I love about this company. They will not just give it to somebody. you have got to be the right person. And Johan was the right person, right? And so he went through the whole interview process. And then so he became the owner of that region. And then he hires his people, right? So he becomes the Gary Keller of South Africa, so to speak, right? He's the influencer. He hires the people. It's his territory, right? And so he takes everything we're doing in the United States and he becomes that. And because I work closely with South Africa, I get to be on their I love them. I mean, Althea, they're just like a big family to me too. And so, but that's what they do. So they have the same struggles we have in here, just with different things. And, you know, you got to adapt it to the local economy. You know, you think about England, Germany, you know, my husband's German. They're all, every country runs a little different. So that leader of Portugal or South Africa or whatever, they are the ones kind of adapting the Keller Williams to that. So it's not Keller Williams going in and doing, they're picking a leader, the right leader.
Right. Oh, that's amazing. Very, very neat. Wow.
And
whereabouts are you, Erica?
I'm actually in Charlotte, North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay.
Yep.
I'm so glad you're on this call. 103 in level 1. That's incredible. So that's honestly, incredible. That's incredible.
The lives that I've changed, I've literally been on phone calls with people and we're both in tears and they're like, I needed this and I've been searching for this and I feel like God put us in contact and
I agree.
It's life-changing.
But do you sell as well?
I actually have stepped back from residential and I recently was able to purchase a commercial building. So I'm going to be diving into the commercial side of real estate here soon.
Oh my God. You're very much. Yes, I nearly did that and then I decided not.
You go, girl. That's amazing. That's amazing. And don't think like Althea, you know, no, Johan named you, right, Althea? Johan named you as his Keller Williams sponsor, right? And now you're talking growth share, which is really cool because growth share is attached to every single transaction around the world, right?
Check. It's
a different check. It's a different check. Comes every quarter. But here's the thing, so even if a country already has their person, like a Johan in South Africa, or we have wonderful people in Turkey and Portugal and France, we have so many, Spain, we have so many countries out there. You can still recruit in that country. So if you're on vacation somewhere, even if they have the main person, then you just can bring them in there as well. And you would get it. Like for me, I get people say all the time, I'm in Cabo, who should I talk to? So I reach out to KWI, to Worldwide, and I say, hey, Lizette, who is the person really that works with Bill and JP at Worldwide, who do I need to connect them with in Cabo or in France, who I need to talk to, whatever. And then you can still say, I'd love to help you and build your business. So even if there's a Keller Williams already there, that'd even be a faster way for you to get people because they already are established. So don't think you can't do it if there's already KW. That's just the big
Very
one.
Neat. Very neat. That's amazing information.
When you get the right person.
Yep.
Very cool.
And KWRI as a resource is always incredible. Thank you so much, Melanie, again. And thank you, Althea, for being here today. I really appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
I'm so happy she got to meet you. And that was such a goal. That just makes my whole day. I'm so glad I did this session today. Well, I wanted time with Althea anyway, but that just totally made it so amazing. All right. I know we have any other questions because I know Jeff jumped on extra just to give a question.
All righty. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having this. I'm so excited. You have no idea. And I've learned a lot from you. You know, and Erica, I think it was Erica who said it. We're changing people's lives and that's just all part of it. And then in the process of doing so, you make money. So I just started recruiting. Well, I've been doing it for market centers for years, but I just started on my own. I had 2 recruits. Now I have 60 this year. I was glad to hear that your base is only 60 and I'm going for 100. I have a question. When you send your recruits to market centers around the country, being intentional, are you looking for profitable market centers? Do you have a criteria or how have you done it? What would you recommend?
No. I'm working through the person I'm talking to for them to find the best for them. You know, I can't, it's too wide if you start looking for profitable. That would take too much time. I always ask for the market centers nearest them. And then I usually call the team leader of that market center and say, I'm sending Joe Smith up to, I just saw him on the airplane. I don't know him at all. And he may come and talk about Keller Williams. And I sent him.
God.
So I tried to keep both sides knowing, because it's hard for the team leaders also to know exactly, and they don't always remember the name, especially if you meet them on an airplane or something, or if you're in a city, or if you're on a holiday in Hawaii. Once I went into a mom and pop shop and talked about it. I just love Keller Williams, and I love talking about it.
So Jeff, I what I'm hearing her say, it's not, I wouldn't get so caught up in like, okay, if I'm looking at LA, for example, LA's huge, right? There's like so many market centers there, and you have somebody that you want to place. You may want to work on building the relationships with some of those key team leaders in the cities that you're seeing a lot of recruits from, would be my advice. Build those relationships, because like you and me, that's a new relationship. I'm really excited to help you grow in Austin, right? But have those relationships with multiple people, because that helps a lot too on people that are going to follow up with you. I really wish, and our goal at Keller Williams is that every team leader is equally like good at follow-up and good with relationships. And I think we're on the path. I don't think we've ever been as good as we are today in the kind of talent we have at Keller Williams. So I think everything is about setting that agent up for success, Althea, right? And I love the closest one. You want to set them up for success. So maybe what are the 2 offices nearest you, and let them self-discover, because it's about them and where they feel like where they're going to succeed, because that's what it's all about, is that agent succeeded. Your profit share is secondary, and I don't mean that in any negative, and I know you believe that, because you won't succeed with profit share anyway if they don't succeed. So maybe 2 different offices that are nearby, you make both introductions, you let them know, okay, so I'm connecting this person with the 2 closest, and let the agent decide. Because even at the end of the day, if one market center's profit sharing 100,000 a year and the other one's $1 million, if that agent is happy in that $100,000 market center profit, then you won. They won. Right? You won because they won. And I think that's just my opinion, doing this for so long, but I love Althea's answer, because you want to set them up for success. And I love that idea.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's kind of what I've been doing too. If there's a couple of choices, go check it out, talk to the team leader, get the feel for the office. So
yeah, you're doing great. So how many are in your level 1 now, Jeff?
Well, as of the next after transmittal, it's going to be 60, 65 right in
That's
there.
amazing.
Yeah. It's amazing.
That's amazing. No, Althea said 16, not 60.
Oh, 16?
She said 16.
Oh,
it was 14 forever. She didn't say 60. She didn't have 60 in her level. Now she has 6,000 in her tree, but her first level has varied between 14 and 20, honey.
Wow.
So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's amazing. And like I said, the profit share report I reported like 5 years ago, what I talked about that live stream, it was only like $100 to $200 came from her level 1. And the rest of that 60,000 or whatever that was that month came from all those other levels.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And thank you for your passion around it and helping us grow together and grow people, because that's what it's all about. So I'm glad you messaged me and I was able to get you in. So I'm really glad.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions from anybody? All right, then I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for us. Althea, what a pleasure it is. I know we're like 12 minutes over. So thank you for your time. Thank you everybody for joining us in the Zoom room audience. We love having live guests with us. But just think about this. For Althea, let's wrap up with a last thought. You've heard the questions, here you are, 86 years old, building your legacy, and you continue to do so every day. What is your last parting thought you want to leave with all of our listeners today?
I think that it's all about relationships, and together everybody achieves more. That's where I feel.
Culture at its best, my dear. And speak with a British accent. That might help too.
Okay.
Oh, Althea, I love you. I can't wait to be at your house for some more wine and cheese soon. And stay safe in Colorado. And everyone, thanks for being on the call. And just remember, play to win, guys. It's a mindset. Every day you have a choice when you wake up that you can gravitate towards opportunity, find opportunity, put it here. What I heard from Althea is put it here. I love that visual, right? We talk about in bold, like that touching and closing it. Put it here, guys, right there, right? Feel it. put your sales there, what activities you need to do, and make real estate growth for other people. There's never been a bigger opportunity than now. So thank you
And
guys.
if you don't have a British accent, say y'all a lot.
That works really well in Texas for sure. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you for being here, Althea. Mwah, love you. Thank
Love
you.
too. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.